Good evening and welcome to the Orange Board of Finance special meeting. Today's Tuesday, March 30th. Call the meeting to order at 6:23. And before I have everyone introduce themselves, this is our second in-person meeting in a year, or a year plus. We did meet in person last week, and through oversight, because of the pandemic rules, we were in person and the public was welcome if they wanted to come to that meeting, and we failed through to also have it taped under the rules. So I apologize for that oversight, and now I'll move on to having everyone introduce themselves, beginning with John. We'll go around.
John Cifarelli, Finance Director.
Audrey Gear, Assistant Director of Finance.
PJ Shanley?
Pat Romano.
Kevin Moffett.
Kevin Houlihan.
Joe Nuzzo?
Jim Leahy.
Thank you. Item number 3, John, did you receive any emails with questions or comments?
None after 4 o'clock today.
Okay. So move on to item 4, the reason we're here, our budget workshop. I know, John, you sent out revised schedules today.
Thank you, Audrey, for making a copy on John.
Oh, yesterday? I printed them today.
It was Saturday,
That's right, it was
but
Saturday.
who's counting?
You use your microphone, I think? I don't think anybody can hear you guys. So is there anything, John, you want to review on here? Anything change from?
No, I
Right.
put in all the changes that we discussed last week. The mill rate calculation that we did last week at 33.25 was correct after I put in all the changes and double-checked them. And here's where we stand today with both the revenue and expense.
Okay.
Yeah, I checked the numbers compared to the files that we had last week. They looked the exact same to me.
The one thing I did do, and Jim, I think if you put up the revenue report, I think last week, when we were looking at it, the numbers we have in the actual amount for 1920, and we
Yes.
thought those, one of the numbers was wrong. They were actually all wrong. They were the budget for that year. I changed the top to actual amount, and then I must have got distracted and never went back to put the actual numbers in. So I did that, but I did that today, and I didn't get it out to you. So I apologize for that, and I'll get a final out to you after tonight's meeting with the right numbers in there.
Okay. So John, the capital page that you sent us, that's just a summary of what we've talked about the past several meetings? So is there
Yes,
anything
it
new
is.
we need to go over on that?
No. We will need a motion on that to the budget passes, to authorize that money to be spent out of the capital account.
Jim, do you want to
Right.
put that up on the screen so people could see that, maybe in the unlikely event they weren't able to see it last week?
Well, which one? Okay,
The Board of Ed.
Board of Ed.
in the-
Board of Ed.
Capital, thank
The
you.
capital?
In the
yeah.
government capital.
I think I have that over here in Excel, and tell me when you think it's a good visual in terms of readability in the room and on TV.
Well, I'll leave this to someone else because I'm like 7 miles away from it.
I don't know why these chairs are closer, but geez. Let's see. Chris, is this readable very much on the screen, Chris and Trent?
It looks good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. So why don't we, want to walk through them again, since we weren't on TV last week, right?
Sure.
All right, so John, you want to walk us through?
Okay. We had asked the Board of Education to pull out what they thought was capital from their budget presentation, and they did pull it out. And these are the things that fall under the town's capitalization policy, and they come to $203,780. They also had money in for their share of the munis, which is the accounting system costs that we both need. So we pulled that out of their budget, and we pulled $40,000 out of the town's IT budget and moved that $80,000 to capital.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of the capital
Okay,
there. And we pulled a couple of other things out of the town budget. Reevaluation is coming, so we pulled that money out and we put that in capital. And police record system, that's where they interview potential arrestees in their room, and those interviews now need to be taped. They're taped now, but the system is failing and they need a new system there. And that comes up to the $528,780 in capital.
that's the yellow plus this orange, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that we'll need to approve.
Okay,
And then there's some other funding needs below. A couple of police vehicles and to continue doing some paving and some other work on the pipes, steam pipes and lighting at High Plains Community Center. So then if we go down below the bottom, the Board of Education's original budget was presented at $22,353,196. The capital pullout was $243,780. And then you asked them for another $100,000 reduction in their budget, so their new budget comes to $22,916. I get choked up over those big numbers.
Yeah. But I just want to, like, it says reduction, but it really wasn't.
Yeah.
They're getting federal stimulus money, so we were asking them to use 100,000 of that to offset, the expenditure side. So it's not like this board didn't ask them to like lay anybody off or do anything like that. It's, their budget should be whole. There is some questions on what money can be used for, because different towns are saying different things, and at this point, we don't have enough guidance, but between now and April 21st, hopefully, we will. But I've been in touch with Vince, and I know John has with Christine and everything, so we'll work through that. But that's where we stay now.
and you talked to Vince about this?
Yep.
Yeah,
Every year, we're standing out at Election Day as I see lighting work at High Plains. And what do we look at and recognize every year, and we say we should address this? The
The lights at
on
the flagpole. Yep.
There's a light in the flagpole that should be lighting up the flag, but the bushes are overgrown and they don't light. So could part of that 200,000 be used to fix that?
Now, this is a program inside, in the tunnels mostly, and I think in the pool area to address the lighting there. There was a program with UI, and UI's given us a big credit towards doing that.
All right.
And Bob is going out.
PJ, you and I might have to go up
Can we
there.
find a couple $100 to fix the lighting so the flag is lit? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, hedge clippers would be a start. Why don't we,
No, seriousness, it's disrespectful not to have the
Well,
flag lit
other-
at night.
The other thing
I
is
agree.
too, when we're standing out there for election, or who's ever standing out there. Yep, sorry. The lights in the parking lot out in front of the building, there's one, when we were immediately pulling off of Orange Center Road, there's a post there that, that light's been out for quite a while. And, you know, the way cars come in and there's people standing there because they have to be 200 feet away from the, you know, from the entrance. In the last, and it usually rains that night, so you're out there in the dark, so that's something that should be looked at too, you know.
where is that, at High Plains?
Yeah,
Doug?
High Plains.
Aren't you glad you brought this up, John?
If you go out on the far, where it's normally the entrance, where you pull in with the cars, there's
Well,
a
I got
light
some
post.
clippers, we end early, we can go over and fix the first one, at least
Yeah,
get the shrubbery out of the
If
way.
I'd known, I would've brought my hedge clipper.
There you go.
John, you just want to make it clear what we're talking about in terms of High Plains and what we're getting from UI? Can you clear that up so?
I don't have the paperwork on me, but the town engineer applied for a grant to help redo the pipes in the tunnels that are leaking. We pulled off all the asbestos. I don't think this committee had any involvement in it as far as funding or anything. But over the last year, all the asbestos was cleared out of the tunnel, which allowed us to be able to go in there and do some work. And there's quite a few pipes leaking in there, so a lot of the pipes need to be replaced. They need to be recovered with some kind of insulation. And the lighting, I think in the pool area is still old. They're replacing the lighting in the pool area and then in the tunnels.
But is this a matching grant, or is this?
It's less than matching, I
Okay.
think, or it may be matching.
Okay.
We've gotten a couple of good grants out of UI. Like I said last week, we got a $200,000 grant from them to do the lighting at the ball fields on Old Tavern Road. It's only gonna cost the town and the ball fields under $50,000, and we're getting Little League's raising money. Amity's gonna give us some money, and they're gonna do some fundraising for that, so it could be even less cost to the town.
Good, thank you.
all right, so we're all set with that page.
Okay. All right, so that's the capital one, John.
Okay.
We'll just move along quickly, I think, unless people have questions on anything that's transpired over our
No.
fun budget season.
I came down here and it seemed like the same number as we had in the Excel file the other night, so. 76,114,029. Give it a boost there. With the three major components listed.
All right, anyone? Everybody else, okay?
Yep.
All right, well then, Jim, I know
It moves to the mill rate, right?
you did some extra work, so yeah, you could, that's
Well,
the mill rate, but that's hard to read. I would probably go to,
okay,
what it
just so
means.
that everybody knows if they're watching, I don't know how many people are watching, that we have a structured process that John's been using for a long time. I think it's probably best in class. But in terms of the bottom line, we could quickly go to that. It's a slide, if you've seen these presentations at the town budget hearings in the past, and I'll let, Kevin, you should probably read it if you wish.
it looks
You can't
blurry to
read it,
me.
I can read it.
You know, well, our three main components are Uptown Operations, or Orange Board of Ed, and Amity Board of Ed, which the boards of ed are probably, you know, PJ's talked to it, about 63% of the total budget is education. On our revenue side, unfortunately, our grand list growth was not what was anticipated because of some, obviously, pandemic-type closures and other businesses, personal properties going down. Hopefully that starts to come back this summer, but we can't count on it for this budget. And Jim, I believe our spending was 3.2%
Yep, 3.20.
increase. So that coupled with our other revenue sources leads to what we're looking at as of today would be a 1.56% tax increase to the residents of Orange. Obviously, we're all hoping that would be zero, but I think to get there would be too draconian in this time to do that.
When we do the town budget hearing, will be no more details on the reasons for the growth in spending. We, as a town, I think it was like over 2/3 to 1/3, approved the purchase of the property of Racebrook Country Club, and that adds to debt that's in this budget and other factors. So, higher increase than perhaps we all would like, but there's factors, and we'll communicate all those factors in the town budget hearing, but that certainly was a large one.
Yeah, and as we talked last week, a big part of it is employee benefits. And everybody out there will
Yep.
knows what's happened with their own health insurance premiums and everything else.
Pension funding was another big one, right,
Yeah.
Pat? You talked about that, right?
Yeah, again, I ran up the numbers and essentially only 305,000 were specific town increases, and the rest of the increase was employee benefits.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I said to myself on my way over, be sure to put your phone on mute. I did. Anyway, another slide, again, it depends on how much property you own, or the value of the property more specifically. We have an Excel sheet that we can, I didn't check with anybody like John or the assessors, but I used the one we've used in the past for the average home value. Whether it's average or not, it'll give you a ballpark anyway. So assessed at 70%, you can see that 248,850 would be 70% of the number in yellow. And then you can see in the red numbers over in the columns on the far right under the years, we're talking about this budget for fiscal year 21-22, right? And you can see with the mill rate and what the taxes would be for that particular type of property. And what you come down to is basically how much increase is there, right? So for that particular size property, it would be $127. And again, obviously, the mill rate is the mill rate increase, and that's 1.56%, as Chairman Houlihan has stated. So that's a quick snapshot of where we are at this moment in time with this budget, if it were to remain this way.
Okay.
This includes the increase in the debt service because of the purchase of the country
Right, and
club.
I don't
Yes.
remember, I asked John for, I remember hearing that it was a certain number of dollars. You know, how many, I think the selectmen, when they discussed this and prior to the vote, that was a question that was asked, and John had done a nice calculation. Even I could understand it without going back and, hey, what about this? And he said that it was about $50, John, is that, again, it depended on your value of your
Right,
house,
yeah,
right, or your
right.
property, but, you know, it felt like about $50, or maybe 30 to 50, it depended on the value. And I have it in the files, we could look it up, but I don't think it's that
So of the
critical.
127 increase, about 50,
Yeah, so it's 30,
yeah.
40% of that increase is because of the purchase of the Racebrook property, yeah. 300 acres, I guess, about 287 acres.
John, when will that bond be secured?
Right now, we're scheduled. It's April 28th. give me a second, I can give you the exact date. The rating call's April 28th, and the bond sale is Tuesday, May 11th, right now, tentatively scheduled.
When's our first payment due?
6 months from the date of the sale, I think it is. So there'll be 2 payments next year.
Yeah, I don't know, you weren't here last time, Joe, but I think we got good news in terms of the money coming in. Was that something we discussed last time, John?
Yes, they're gonna pay, the first payment's been moved up, so it'll hit in this budget cycle.
So it's in this budget, so it turns out, so I want to make sure because you had a particular interest in that a couple of times ago. Yeah, so,
All right, well then, at this point, if nobody has any changes to what we have in front of us,
when would you like to, if people are watching, Kev, to show the dates? At some point, we probably in this meeting, we should share the dates that
Right.
are coming up.
yeah, we'll
So
do
you
that.
You decide when that is.
But for this, John, we just need a motion to send this to print and to be presented on April 21st.
A year of not using the microphone. Forgot how to use it. You need to make a motion, and in the motion, use the dollar amount of the budget, and the second and approve it. And then you should also make a motion to fund the capital also, if the budget
That'd be a
passes the
separate motion, John?
referendum.
I thought we
I
would,
would do it separate
I thought the
motions.
capital we would do after the budget referendum, or the night of the
Okay,
referendum.
you could do that too.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'd rather do that than do something now that might have to be undone.
Okay.
Um,
Well, if you did it now, it would be subject, I would make it subject to the referendum passing. But that's fine.
So you want to do that
The other
after
thing,
that,
the
yeah?
other
I'd-
thing I would
I
do
think
in your
that's good.
motion, I would also include what the mill rate will be.
We've never done that.
We did it last year. Well, last year
No,
was
because
a
we set
different
the mill
year.
rate after the
After the
referendum.
referendum.
Okay.
That's when we formally said it. We can't do that now.
All right,
Hold
Kev,
on.
I'll
We
make the
did
motion.
it last year because we didn't have a referendum.
Yeah.
Well, 2 years ago, we didn't. I'll make the motion, 76,114,029,
76 million.
76,000, yeah.
Wouldn't that be
So we
good?
wish a 76,114,129 fiscal year 21-22. And do we need to state the mill rate that supports that,
No.
John? No.
No,
Thank
it's
you.
just the expenditure side, because it's gonna go to the hearing, our budget presentation, then it's gonna go to the town meeting, which, Jimmy, you could bring up.
All right, we'll fire it up now.
And,
There's some dates up here on
And
the
then to
calendar.
referendum, and then we vote on the mill rate. Last year, there was no public, and we basically just set the budget last year ourselves.
Yep.
Thankfully, this year, we have some normalcy back.
I'll second Jim's motion.
Motion by Jim, second by Pat. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained,
So Kev,
unanimous.
you want to
Thank
go run through while we have it up? The people at home can mark their calendars for what we'll be doing in terms of this budget, or no?
Yes. I can't see from here.
Okay. April,
Plus, I'm partially colorblind, so
April
the different
21st.
colors don't work for me.
a Wednesday, we have the budget hearing, which means we present the details of this budget. The two superintendents present their budgets in a summary fashion. So that's April 21st, a Wednesday. So you can see it up there in the orange circle. The town meeting, the white circle, which is over here in May 12th, again a Wednesday, will be the second step in the process. And the third step in the process for the orange budget is the referendum, as you can see, is on May 20th, if that can be seen, Chris, on the TV screen. Now, what many people in town are maybe not aware of, kind of like the Orange Volunteer Fire Department last year, is the Amity dates. So, Joe, as best I understand it, the district meeting is coming up on the first Monday in April, 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th. Then you have the annual budget meeting, which is on, that's that black dot over there, which is on May the 4th. And the very next day, there's a referendum on the Amity budget. Now, all of the 3 towns vote on the Amity budget, right, on that day. It is also a major cog, we'll call it the third for, grenade close type of thing, a big segment of our budget, all right? But it's approved across the 3 towns on the, or voted on, excuse me, on May 5th, okay? And once that is approved, then it's baked in, right? It's approved. Even though we have to still do our referendum for the all of town of Orange on May 20th, all right? So there's 2 separate referendum votes, one for the Amity budget and then one for the town budget, which includes the Amity budget, but its approval is dependent on its own vote.
Great, thank you. Okay. Item 5, discussion and approval of minutes from the March 24th, 2021 meeting.
John, you still batting lead off?
To find it. Okay, let's start on page 1, item 1. Mr. Leahy made a motion to move item 5, discussion and approval of March 15, 2021, should say regular meeting minutes,
Just add the word minutes.
Okay.
On the approval under number 2, regular meeting minutes again, just to make the distinction there. Over on to page 2, second bullet that starts with me, second to last line. Mr. Cifarelli mentioned that 200,000 in spending will be approved by the Board of Selectmen to repair the pipes and lighting at the community center. So put in spending and strike the word in capital. And then above that, I missed this one. However, the full amount will be paid by the town side in the 2021-2022 proposed capital budget.
Good catch, John.
Now, the next one down that starts with me again, where it said Mr. Leahy would like to reduce the mill rate to 2.99. I think that wasn't the mill rate, it was the spending increase. And I think he wanted to reduce it to 2.99 or below
Well, I-
3.
Right,
really-
below 3.
Yeah.
Under 3 is what I said, I think.
Okay, so.
So change that to under 3.0%, and that's one of the edits I
And not
had.
the mill rate, the spending increase.
That's right, I had that as well. Good.
Okay, and then the last line, while other board members agreed, they also felt that this would be challenging in light of the small grand list growth.
That's very, very good edit, John.
Yeah.
I like the
And
tone.
that's
of that.
all I had.
I got a couple, Kev. Deb, on the top of page 2, let's see here. On the second line, where it says the Board of Finance should, budget, rather than appropriate, I'd use the word budget. An amount to be returned, et cetera, okay? I have some words here, but I didn't tie it back, so just give me a second, team, if you can. I'm having a little trouble with that last sentence. After some discussion, one of the troubles I have is the word correct. So if anybody else feels that that's a little bit of one-off, I couldn't come up with anything better at the moment when I read it the first time. After some discussion, it was unanimously agreed that 850 is the correct didn't feel right, dollar amount that corresponds. I think what I see here is this. I would say, if anybody can come up with a better word than correct, I'm all in. But rather than these words here, I would say after the word dollar amount, whatever the adjective is for correct, I think it should read something more like this. After some discussion, it was unanimously agreed that $850,000 is the dollar amount that should be budgeted for Orange's share of the Amity surplus. I think that says it better than the words that are on that last line there, Deb and team.
And I think, to your point, when we did the analysis of the 3 years and the 5 years, it was $1 million plus.
The last-
So we backed it down,
Yep.
so, yeah, I.
Yeah, it was
that
2.6
changed.
million on average the last 4 years, right, Joe? If I got my numbers right, I remember I wrote that article. And again, we'll see. But that's one edit.
Can I propose the word appropriate instead of correct?
Thank you. Correct didn't feel right. It feels
Oh,
like,
yeah.
correct, incorrect. Thank you, Pat. Going down on the paragraph that says, while increasing class size, I'm pretty sure, since I wrote the slides, what I've been maintaining all along. So I would suggest an edit there, and it would read like this, Deb. While maintaining class size more in line with DRG averages and historical orange norms, that's the slide I've shown many times, right, comma. The board members felt, okay, continuing the sentence there, okay? In other words, I would say, while maintaining class size more in line with DRG averages and historical orange norms, the board members felt that this would not be a good time to suggest
Increasing class size.
to increase class size, or, yeah, thank you, Joe.
Can I,
How about the board felt, and this is true because it's what I said, that it's not the responsibility of the Board of Finance to determine class size?
It's the responsibility of the Board of Finance to assign a budget.
Correct.
And sometimes the rationale for why you say is because of factors that are there, but it does not mean that if you reduce, like, for example, Kevin said earlier in this meeting, that he talked to Vince about $100,000. It did, and that was for some different reason. But even if you did reduce something for $100,000, they still get a pile of money, and it's their job to figure out how to spend that.
Right.
Yeah.
But
In agreement.
the minutes is a reflection on what was said. And what I said was, it's not the responsibility for Board of Finance to determine class size.
Put that in there.
Then I think that would be a good sentence to add.
Put it in there.
I had a couple other edits there too, but,
Yeah, because.
Okay, I would take out the sentence that starts with the word there was some. I would just take that sentence out.
I agree with that, because
Okay?
can I,
Yeah,
su-
I'll
can
let
I-
you guys iron it out, but and then I'll chime in, because talking to Dr. Scarpetti about reducing their proposed budget by 100, that really wasn't
Right.
what it was
No.
about, was using 100 of the 300 in American Recovery.
Right, so we need to edit that
Yeah.
sentence.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of,
Yeah.
So, first of all, everybody good with taking out that there was some, I think I heard yes.
That's fine. I have a change in the first sentence. Instead of not a good time to suggest such an option, to say at this time, that's not a good option.
Some board members felt that at this
This time,
time,
that was not a good option.
it is not a good option. Okay, Deb?
I'm fine with that.
Okay? So we're down to the third sentence, or the sentence that starts with the however. And let's get a version one on something on restructuring that sentence.
I have a suggestion on that one, too.
Please, Pat.
After the 100K, based upon federal COVID relief funding anticipated of 303?
303,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so after
After
reducing their
100,
proposed budget by 100,000 based
based on
on
federal COVID relief funding anticipated of
as
303.
303,000.
Yeah,
Okay?
Yeah, 'cause I look at
That's a
it-
lot of words.
they're actually netting 200,000.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
It's a net positive,
yeah,
and it looks like we're reducing it.
yeah.
yeah.
We're really just coming up with another income line, but the way we budget, their budget has to be reduced by 100 technically, and they could pay those, they're paying that extra 100 out of
The money
the
they get.
recovery money versus the money from the town. But
Yeah.
it's really, should be all one pot, but, so I just didn't want it to, people to say, oh, they cut the budget by 100, when that's not what happened. It's gonna come from another revenue source. Okay?
Are we good on that paragraph? That has a lot in it, and I think we've covered it, but I just want to make sure. that
Deb,
it's
could you
good.
read back
Yeah,
what it looks like now?
While maintaining class size in line with the average, with the DRG averages and the historic average norms,
sorry.
the board members felt that this would not be a good option at this time. However, Chairman Houlihan will speak with Dr. Scarpetti about reducing their proposed budget by 100K in light of another revenue of 303K from the federal COVID relief fund.
Yeah,
That's fine. Good?
that's good.
Did PJ's sentence get put in? I didn't hear that.
Oh, yeah, we gotta add
Oh,
that.
yeah, I put yours in too. Mr. Shanley said it is not the responsibility of the Board of Finance to determine class size.
Okay.
That's in there already now.
The final one that I have, or I think it's the final one, it's a kind of a small one, Deb, down in the third last paragraph. I think there's a Mr. Leahy starts the paragraph. The town of Orange gets, it's actually 2.30%, which is considerably lower than much other, rather than 2. I said 2, but I had the data, so it's going to be published. And by the way, on that article, if Rocky publishes it Friday, I added back the Amity stuff into what the town got, half of Amity. And even though we don't, that's their job, just like you just said, PJ, it's their job to figure out how to spend that. But that does kind of come into the educational component, along with the local aid component, non-education, that gets those two pieces that go to a total in that Excel file I sent out to you guys, so. So 2.3, I think, is the right number.
Okay. Anyone else? Is there a motion to approve as amended?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Second by Kevin. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
I'll abstain, Chair.
One abstention. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay. This is gonna be a record. John, item number 6, did the detailed cost of the tropical storm, did that, any data change from the last time? I think we were at 161 last week, weren't we?
I can check, eh?
And I didn't name the sentence, because I just can't pronounce that word.
It's still at 161, 373. There was a meeting last week with the representative of FEMA, and they're actually moving along quicker than I thought they'd move along, so we may see our refund in a year instead of 2 years.
It's the same number, Jeff.
Okay. So, out of the 160, you think maybe half of it qualifies, or?
Actually, Bob Britton put together a pretty good spreadsheet. He added in the labor. Now they're telling us that we may get the labor on the 40 hours of the guys. So our claim right now at 100% with everything in, not kicking anything out, is gonna be 300,000. But once they start kicking it out, who knows?
So we have a chance to recover the whole 160.
We could recover 75% of 300 if they leave it all in.
Wow, 225?
Well, that's
But
amazing.
I wouldn't take that to the bank.
No, we don't take anything to the bank, but if this isn't gonna grow anymore, and the claims being submitted, you know, we appropriated $250,000 from fund balance for this account, that the balance can go back.
Whatever we get
This-
goes back, right,
This
Jeff?
may,
But the other 90,000 that we never used, because we moved 250 into a special account to cover the
Oh, to cover
storm.
this 163?
Yeah, so
Oh,
if we're
okay.
not going above this, and there's no more costs coming in, you know, it's just for our overall fund balance percentage at the end, you know.
there is still cost, there's still grinding down at the transfer station. Let me get that right. I don't know, we're 8 months by the storm now, and we're still grinding. I don't know if they're gonna allow it, but we're charging it there, and we'll see.
Okay.
The way the grinding goes down there will probably be another 2 months before they get rid of the pile from the storm. And that's all isolated, and unfortunately, we've had a couple of fires and the chip piles down there and everything else. First Selectman is getting a little upset with it down there.
Is that what's known as a long grind?
Now, is somebody going down there and starting a fire, or?
No, it's just, the chips get hot. and
Yeah,
They
they
combust on their
Yeah.
own.
Yeah, you start seeing them smolder, yeah, okay.
Get the fire department on there and practice their hoses.
Well, the guy that's down there does the chipping, if you look at his machine, it's probably 50 years old. And he's supposed to pull the chips out as he's grinding them, and he can't keep up with it. I think they're actually going out to bid now on that.
Outsourcing the chipping?
Well, it's always been, but maybe we'll get a guy with a newer piece of equipment. and-
Evan, overall, this is a pretty good news story, yeah?
The storm?
Well, not the story. No, well, actually, the way a lot of people pitched in
Yeah.
and made things happen and contributed, it was another example of the community we live in. But I was thinking financially, I think that
Yeah.
this was,
No, I agree.
this is a more, when, your initial expectations, John, this is higher than that, right? In terms of FEMA, right?
Well, they change the rules as they go along.
Yeah,
They've never allowed you to claim the 40 hours of the men
Yep.
that clean up during their normal business, working hours, and they're allowing that. So you're talking about 8 highway guys that worked a week and a half, you know, cleaning up their
Oh,
regular
easy.
time plus overtime. So it turns out to be a lot of money.
good.
Now, all the areas, all the areas, neighborhoods. Yep, sorry. All the
Neighborhoods that, the lost power and trees were down, and, you know, who paid for that those tree services to come in and chop up everything so they could get the wires fixed? Was that something that the UI and Eversource will pass along?
Well, some of the areas it was the town, Some of the areas, it was the people that UI hired. This storm, the first selectman wasn't happy with UI. We had some problems with communications with them also. He was promised a couple of times that areas of town where there were disabled people or people on oxygen would get taken care of in priority, and the times he was promised didn't happen. And, you know, as we all know him, he didn't let it go, and he moved to get them to do what they needed to do.
Yeah, I was at his farm one day when he was on the phone, and
Yeah,
I wouldn't have wanted to be the guy on the other end.
yeah, he wasn't happy.
I know that feeling.
I think we went through three UI representatives over that storm.
Yeah,
But if it's a town road and it's just trees down, it's usually our guys that are taking it. They can't touch anything when the wires are involved.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
okay. Mr. Shanley?
Yeah.
I second it.
Second by Pat. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
See everyone on April 21st.
Good, good. Thank you.